So, today I'm going to tell my fourth story time, and this one is going to talk about somebody that was previously mentioned before. We're going to focus a lot today on Jess. So, today's story time is the story about the time that I almost got arrested. I was with Beau, and I went to his house. And we were relaxing in his living room, probably like watching movies or something. Like, we were just chilling, because that's what we used to do. Like, I would go over there, we'd watch some movies, like talk a little bit, whatever, and then I'd go home. So we were relaxing in the living room, and this guy from our school, Aaron, he called and he invited us to come hang out with him in Central Park. So we were just kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I wasn't really used to like all the different things that people used to do. Like, everyone else was from the area, so they already knew about like going to Times Square to hang out, or like sitting on 14th Street and like talking to people or whatever. I wasn't used to all that, so everything was new to me. So he invited us to hang out in Central Park, and I was just like, yeah, we should go. So at this time it was already late in the day. Like, it was probably like 6 or 7-ish. And like, that doesn't sound late, but I was, how old? I was 16 at the time. So I wasn't allowed to like hang out late and that sort of thing. Like, that was usually the time that I would end up leaving Beau's house to try to get home before 10 o'clock, because I live pretty far. But I decided to go anyway. I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna have fun today. I don't know what it was that day, but I was feeling like a rebel. So like, my parents called me like at one point, and they were like, come home now, because I think I had asked if I could go, like idiot, and they were like, come home now. And I was just like, okay, I will. And I just decided not to. Like, I was just kind of like, no. But I went, and I knew that Jess had a crush on Aaron. She had met him because she and I used to visit each other's schools. So she had a crush on Aaron. So I called her and I invited her. So we all met up in Central Park, and Aaron had to go to a deli to buy us 4 Locos. I had never had a 4 Loco before at this point in my life. I had just heard of them. So I knew that it was like alcohol and caffeine put together, and it was just like pure insanity. But I had always wanted to try one, but I couldn't, because like, obviously I'm 16. I don't even now I don't look like I'm 21 and I'm 19. So like, at the time I definitely did not look like the type of girl who could just walk into a deli, pick up one and put it on the counter and buy it. But Aaron had brought his friends, so it was him and then maybe like 3 or 4 other people. They were really nice, but they all came or whatever. And we all went to Central Park, by some benches. Like, if you've ever been to Central Park, you know how like on one side there's like the wall, and then on the other side, like near the street, there's all these benches. So we went by the benches and we started drinking. And they wanted Jess and I to chug. So we did, because we're foolish. Like, it was whatever. So we chugged, and we ended up drinking 2/3 of the can. If you've ever seen a can of 4 Loco, I'm trying to think of something that could totally be like the size. Like, a can of 4 Loco is like this big. Like, I'm not joking. It's like this big, and then it's a can, so it's like around like this kind of, and it's just huge. So we chugged 2/3 of that, and it was just huge. And I'm a lightweight. I'm a serious lightweight. So basically, Jess and I were messed up. Like, we were just all over the place. So we were all being silly and like laughing, giggling about dumb stuff, like whatever. And I went back over to Beau, because that was my boyfriend at the time. So I went over by Beau, and he was smoking. So I asked to try. And I ended up taking it, and my drunk mind, I didn't know which end was which. I thought that the pretty part, the glowing, burning part, the pretty part, was supposed to go in my mouth. So I burned my lips and then gave up, because it hurt a lot. And it just kind of like, kept going like that. I was just laying across Beau, we're like talking, whatever. It was just crap. And then after a while, Aaron started yelling that Jess was throwing up. That's my girl. So I sat up real quick. Like, I sobered up so fast. Like, before I was like stumbling, my neck was just like all over the place. Like, it was crazy. And as soon as he was like, oh, she's throwing up, I sat up and like ran right to her, like straight line. Like I could have passed that straight line test so quick if the police wanted to pop up, but that's not what we're talking about. So I ran over to her and she was literally all over the place. Like she was like leaned over against the wall to Central Park and her eyes were like rolling up into her head and she had like just throw up. It was just terrible. So I decided it was time for us to go because I just feel like one of the things that I learned growing up with the way my parents are is that you quit while you're ahead, or in this case, you quit when you're not ahead. So I figured it's either we leave now and just look like the girls who can't hang, or we stay longer and something bad really happens. So I decided it was time to go. So Aaron picked up Jess and put her on his back because she couldn't walk. Like she could barely stand, let alone walk. So he put her on his back and we started making our way back to the train. So while we were walking, this girl, she's like slumped against his neck like this, right? And she's like really drunk. So she's like here, eyes closed, eyes rolling, looking all crazy. And she starts making out with the back of Aaron's neck. And she, mind you, had just thrown up. So she had like throw up like all here and she's like slobbering on his neck. So he's like, come on, get off me. Getting upset because he wanted to put her down, but she needed to be carried. So he was upset because he, like, that's nasty. Like, that's throw up. Other people's throw up being put onto you. Like, that's nasty. And then we're all laughing about it because, like, well, we think it's funny. Like, it's not us that's happening to. And she starts mumbling, but like really loud. So it wasn't really mumbling. She was just talking. She was like, oh, God. I'm so sorry. Aaron's never gonna love me now. And I love him so much. And I just want him to be my boyfriend and for us to fall in love. And now it's never gonna happen. I'm sorry, Aaron. I love you, Aaron. So we're all dead. Like, we're cracking up. I'm trying to stop her because I know that I'm gonna have to tell her about this in the morning and she's gonna be OD embarrassed. So I was trying to stop her. It wasn't working. She kept talking, so I gave up. I was like, you're gonna pass out soon enough, sweetheart. It's fine. So we started making our way back to the train, and then as we get closer to the train, Aaron and his friends stopped like halfway down the block and like put Jess down, and she's like barely standing, but they were like, oh, you know, we all have warrants. So basically it just meant that like they had all already been in this kind of situation before and got caught by police, and they couldn't be seen with her because it's like underage drinking and already had a warrant on you for something else. And he could basically was just like, you got her from this point, we gotta go. So I had to carry her the rest of the way. I wanted to, but it wasn't really working out because it looked too obvious because I'm small, she's small, like not in terms of height, but in terms of build. So I'm small, she's smaller than me, and she's like leaned on me like dead weight, and I'm just kind of dragging her. So it looked really obvious. Bo, he was kind of, he's like short for a guy, but he's like bulky. So I don't look bulky at all. I just realized what I did. I have like no muscle mass whatsoever. Anyway, but he picked her up and carried her the rest of the way. So none of us had any money left, but she had a 20 because I had to look through her bag because we had to find a way to get home. So I looked through her bag and she had a 20. So we put money on our Metro cards and brought her through the train to like through the train station to wait for the train. And Bo lived in a different direction than Jess and I. It was the same train, but we had to go in two opposite directions. So he had to leave us, but he was like really worried about it. But she and I live walking distance from each other, so I just decided she was gonna come over to my house. Like there was no way I was gonna drop her home like that. Not happening. So we got on the train and she passed out. She was like laying on my lap, so it looked like she was asleep. So I tried to like kind of keep that going. Like I was like patting her hair, making it look like she was asleep. So we got off the train at 34th. And my mom works at 34th Street and she usually gets off around that time. So I was worried because I didn't want her to see us and know messed up. Like, I didn't want that to happen. So we went into the bathroom in Penn Station. So we went from 34th to Penn Station. So we went in the bathroom after buying our tickets because Jess needed to throw up. And as she was throwing up, a cleaning lady came by and she saw us. So she asked us if we were okay. And I told her we were fine. But she was like, oh no, you're not fine. You guys are drunk. And then like left the bathroom. So I told Jess we needed to leave. Like, I was like, we gotta go. She kept throwing up. So the cleaning lady came back with a cop. And the cop had asked what happened. So I was about to answer because I was the good one. Like, I was fine. And Jess pipes up from head in the trash can, just pipes up and is like, so the cop was like, from what? This bitch said she had bad shrimp at Chipotle. Chipotle doesn't have shrimp. So I was scared because that was a horrible lie. I was just like, if that cop has ever been to a Chipotle in her life, we're getting arrested tonight. I guess she hadn't been to a Chipotle because she let us go. So we left and sat on the floor to wait for the Long Island Railroad. So I called my dad to come get us from the station when we got off the train. And while we were waiting, she passed out on me again. So it was fine. But I got her onto the train and into the car. My dad didn't notice. And we got home safe. And looking back on it, Aaron didn't check up on us or anything. Like, Bo made sure we were safe. So he like kept checking in the whole way home. Like, he was texting me, he was calling me, and everything was okay. In the morning, she was like really hungover, and we walked to the store and got water, Gatorade, and ginger ale because she read somewhere that that was the cure to a hangover, I guess. And I got a sandwich because I was really hungry. That was it. I'm fat. It's whatever. But we went back to my house, and I reminded her of everything, especially the part where she made out with Aaron's neck after throwing up and confessing her love for him and disappointment that he wouldn't love her back. And the moral of the story is now she doesn't drink Four Locos anymore. So she's probably going to watch this and gag every time I say Four Loko. She's going to be like gagging because Four Loko is just her killer. Like, she doesn't touch Four Locos, doesn't talk about them, doesn't reminisce. But that's my story for today. So if you liked it, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye!